In my last video, we're about to do a Q&A with my husband and I. Excuse my cows. And I just put your questions below. I wanted to put at the beginning of the video in case you didn't make it all the way to the end. So go ahead and put some questions. If you have any questions for us, put them down below and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Kylie Gray and you are in my little garden here in Central Oregon. I need to harvest some things, but one of the main things I wanted to harvest was chamomile, and it is already closed up for the night, and I don't know, it just seems wrong to harvest it when it's closed. This morning I was out weeding the garden and I have been basically eating breakfast on these raspberries. I think I might have ate them all the ripe ones. I actually don't think I got the ones over there, so I should go check those out. I have some updates on the garden. So in years past, if you haven't been following me for a bit, I have affectionately called this whole row of sunflowers Sunflower Alley. Sunflower Alley this year got a little munched on by some cows that broke in and has recovered, but it's very slow. It is blooming and it is quite small. But normally I would have to look back on some videos to see, but typically this one is taller than me now. Not with my crazy bun, but normally you can't see the chickens. But is it at this time of year? I don't know. Is it later in the year? I don't know. It was just a mini Sunflower Alley this year, which is okay. So it's starting. It's starting. It is what it is. So it's not going to be as grandiose and glorious as it was last year, but it is what it is. This lettuce is all bolting. So I've already fed the geese and the chickens a great deal, but I'm going to give them some. I have cane out. They'll pipe down once they get their treat. The cows all got let out today and they've been out grazing around the property, picking up random mishmash, or like eating the yard and all about and all the things. They've been eating good today. So these potatoes are jamming, and it was really funny today because I came in, everything's actually doing fairly well for what has happened this year. And I came in this morning, was working in the garden. That sounds like my dad's phone. It's my dad's phone. Dad looking for it on the tractor. And while I was running out to get my dad's phone, I found a raspberry. That one wasn't as good. Okay, back to the conversation on hand. I worked in these two beds, or pathways, just getting them up. We have so many violas. And as I'm weeding my violas, I didn't even see it. I got stung by a bee. It's my first time this year. They've been bad recently. So I know there's still a lot of junk weed residue in the pathways, but I really did weed it with my weed hoe, my syrup hoe. So they're just gonna die out, hopefully. We'll see. But as I was saying, it is August in Central Oregon, which normally is our hottest month of the year, but in a turn of events, our scorcher of July, like the entire month of July was blazing. And this month we had some hot days, nothing in the hundreds. We did have some upper 90s. No, we did have hundreds. We got in the hundreds last week. July was a scorcher. August has not been, it has had 100-degree days, but it is now dropped. And we are in the low 80s to 70s. And we even have a day that's in the 60s. And last video I was joking about my 30% chance of rain, but this week I got multiple days where I have a day where it's like 75% chance of rain. And it's cool and cold. I'm wearing a sweatshirt tonight. It is feeling, I know, I said it the last few videos, but guys, this actually does feel like fall because 70s and it's getting cold. Where we live in the high desert of Central Oregon, we have a frost risk all year round, which is a little bit unusual, and I have met now other gardeners who have risk of frost all year, but it's more like an occasional thing. It happens here and there. Ours is like, if it doesn't happen, it's really awesome. And I have recently learned that other parts of where we live here in Central Oregon, and there's parts of Central Oregon, we're up in Lapine. Lapine, Oregon is up high in elevation. We're about 43, 44. We're about 44 where we are at 100 feet. And so we get a wave, like Bend can freeze in the summer, Sisters can freeze in the summer, but they're less likely than we are. And that's kind of my good friend Esther, who lives up in northern Idaho. That's kind of how she is at, and she's at like 2,400 feet. And so yeah, so we're up here, we can get frost in the summer. And also on the other side of Lapine, I have met a lot of gardeners who, when we get frost, do not. So it just depends on where you're at in Lapine, and we kind of are in a cold bucket, or a cold, I don't know, we're gonna call it a cold bucket because I don't know what else you'd call it. A cold zone, you know, like the banana belt cold zone, I don't know. Over here we tend to be a smidge chillier than the other side of town. So we have had several frost in August and then in July, and most of my potatoes in my big garden are nipped down. Not nipped down, I would just say nipped. But my potatoes in here, lush as can be, and I attribute that to my tree, which a lot of people say don't have a shaded garden. Well, when you live in the high desert and you get months of no rain and months of crazy heat, and then you can freeze at any point, a tree I have found is my best friend because it allows me to have cold crops all year round without succession sowing them, except for my lettuce, which I got a succession sow. But like my broccoli and my cauliflower and all these things, potatoes, and it's also been really protecting them from frost. So this is something I've been thinking about a lot in the last few years, but it seemed ridiculous to add onto this garden because we have a lot of trees over here, and it'd be quite nice to expand this garden. So I've thought about expanding this garden. I like how small it is though, because it is my sanctuary, but it is in this grove of trees, and it would give the same ecosystem that we have going on, where the full sun garden is just kind of like super awesome for onions and super awesome for garlic and all of the alliums that love full sun and can handle heat without bolting. But this really protects my potatoes from the frost. It really protects a lot of my cold crops. So I go back and forth. I do have a couple trees over there that are just small, so they're not big enough to do any shade protection or frost protection. What I'm saying is my potatoes are jamming. I've never seen them bloom and lose their blossoms before. Well, okay, let me show you something. So I did 2 pathways, got them weeded pretty good, and I still have a couple more to do. You can see this one. You can't even, like that right there, that's a pathway. It just is crazy. So these all, I was like, oh my gosh, there must have been a deer or something that got in here and is nibbling all the tops off my potatoes. What the heck? I have this place locked down from Fort Knox from these 4 bozos. So I didn't think that was possible. And I grabbed a potato, whatchamacallit. I grabbed the potato blossoms, and I had a few fall off in my hands. And they're dropping their blossoms, which means they're ending their life. Is this the same? I'm grabbing it. This one looks good. Oh, it's been a lovely year of raspberries. They've been the most flavorful and delicious raspberries. So now the potatoes are starting to spread and kind of flop down, but at least for me, and there might be better potato growers where I live with the climate we have, I've never seen them blossom and lose their blossoms. I've seen them blossom, but typically we get a frost by then and it just nips them down to the ground. I have never seen them lose their blossoms and actually finish out their potato life cycle. I always get potatoes, but like I said, this is unusual for me. It's been such a hot year, and I think they've just loved it. They've just absolutely loved it. So it isn't, and all of these potatoes that are in this other bed, they're all volunteers. Maybe this should just be a potato garden. But if I expanded a little bit that way or a little that way, I could have just beds just for potatoes. But I have that giant garden, but it just doesn't have the same ecosystem. So I'm like, it seems silly to add on to this garden when that one's so huge. But when the climate over here is calling my name. So my potatoes, they're flowering. This right here, this whole area just looks super tempting for me to just start harvesting potatoes. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna have self-control. I got this crazy pea that's over here, out way away. And here's this trellis. This is an old antique, crib. Oh, I just snapped that. Live. You can live. There you go. Oh, yeah. Gotta show you this. There's no head forming in this cabbage. But here's my hand. Look at how beautiful it is. And this is I have 2 of these, was a gift, and these are kaleets. And they got mowed down, but they are coming back and they're branching out. I don't know what they're gonna do, but a kaleet is like a cross between a kale plant and a Brussels sprout. It's because they have like little bulbs of kale, but they're like Brussels sprouts, but they're not round and as tight as Brussels sprouts. I don't know, Google it. They're kind of rare, they're a hybrid. Oh, there is a little bit of... So this is one of the furthest potato plants away from the tree. That's frost damage right there. But everybody else. And over here at that, right there, those violas laying on the ground. That's where I got stung by the bee. We got tons of Brussels sprouts and cabbages, all the things. All these beds have crazy amount of things in them, whether it be carrots or peas or violas. It's just kind of a wild banshee of a row, but I've been enjoying the violas and I don't want to weed them out. Sunflowers are coming up. They're all right. Oh, there's a bee. They're beautiful. They're just a little lackluster this year, and that's okay. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. Down this row, I am growing a new pea. I need to look up what it is. But it was so good, and it has like a thicker pod, and it's not flat. It's like, maybe it's the melting sugar. I don't know. But look at this blossom. Isn't that just gorgeous? Here's one about to open. It's so beautiful. It has like the most beautiful blossoms. I got some cilantro coming up. I got carrots in here. Let's pull one up. Oh. This is the oxheart carrot. I planted oxheart and Parisians in here, and oh my gosh, the smell of carrots, it's just fresh carrots, is to die. I'm gonna take this in. I haven't had too many Parisians. We got a bunch in the big garden, but every time I harvest them, my nieces, nephews, my kids, they devour them. I have one lowly calendula flower coming up. Normally I have a bunch, which we still have time because it's only August. They'll go into September. They can handle the cold. Else I've noticed is that because these all got mowed down by the cows, they are bushier and fuller than ever. The next year we'll have like a crazy raspberry year because we'll have so many second year canes that maybe it'll just be insane. But they are just filling out like crazy. I'm also going to come in here, and we have so many that are encroaching in the beds that I'm going to dig them up, transplant some into the big garden because I want to do an experiment to see, because sometimes I wonder if the shade in this garden is limiting the berries we get. So I'm going to take them over and see how they do in full sun and see what happens. I don't know. What happens in your climate might be different than mine because of the cold we get in the summer. Ugh. So we'll just see. But it's worth a shot for me. These are all free. They're invading. They would take over this garden in a heartbeat. I've given away a lot this year. I could give away a lot more, but they are just creeping into everything. And we're going to deal with that. So Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. So I'm gonna go harvest my chives and then we're gonna call it a night. The raspberries are all up in this chive. It's been good. I've gotten a couple harvests off them now, and it's one of my most used herbs. I just love them, and my whole family just loves them in scrambled eggs, so that's what I do. Easy, quick dinner. Don't want to do anything, and you have a crap ton of eggs because you have 75,000 chickens. Scrambled eggs, chives, some good salt. Not all salt is created equal. And maybe a little cheese. So there's that. All right, guys, I gotta go in, spend some time with my husband. We have 1 week. Actually, football starts on Monday. So you're gonna see probably a lot more of me soon, because once my husband goes and is coaching football multiple days a week, I am out in my garden every evening. This is my favorite time to be out in my garden because it feels so good. But I like to spend time with my husband, and typically if he's home we are doing something outside, like cleaning or something, or doing a project around the house or something, and then we like to watch a show. We haven't had time to watch a show. Like, we haven't had time to just sit and be in months. In the evenings we've been doing stuff, which is good. It will be lovely to just sit and watch a show with him. So thank you guys so much for following along with me tonight, and be sure to leave those questions down in the comments below, and that video will be out in the next couple weeks if I can pin down Trey to do the video before football gets super crazy. So yeah, put your questions down below, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye, guys. Boba kitty. Boba kitty.